Sometimes you find yourself having to do some very serious work on your phone. Maybe you don't own a computer, or maybe you own a computer but you don't have access to it at the very moment when you need to get the work done. But your phone is with you. So you type that long email or you work on that spreadsheet directly on your smartphone. And it gets very tedious when you have to do that. Almost as tedious as trying to type on a TV using the TV remote control. In this video, I'm going to show you a better way to handle those situations where you just have to get important work done on your phone. So smartphones today have more processing power than NASA had when they put a man on the moon. Compared to computers, smartphones win in the area of portability and connectivity. Portability because you can work on your phone while you're having a meal, when you're on the toilet seat, when you're in a moving vehicle, when you're on your bed, pretty much anywhere. And connectivity because phones come built in with internet connectivity options, 5G, 4G, 3G, whatever. But most computers have to be connected to Wi-Fi or an Ethernet cable for them to have internet access. Basically, your phone is ubiquitous, and if you need to get work done at a moment's notice, your phone is probably already on you. So far, I've probably not told you anything you don't already know. But has it ever occurred to you to hook up a keyboard and a mouse with your smartphone for a quick burst of productivity? No? Well, let's get into it. On iOS devices, you can connect a keyboard and a mouse directly through Bluetooth. And on Android devices, you have both the Bluetooth option and the wired option. Many Android devices use micro USB, but preferably you're going to want an Android device that uses USB Type-C. I will explain the advantages of USB Type-C in another video. Now, you can go into any electronics shop and buy a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard to use with your devices, but this is niche, so we are not just going to talk about any Bluetooth mouse or keyboard. This keyboard and mouse combo is small enough to fit in your pocket. So let's say you want to head out and you want to travel light, you don't want to carry a backpack with you. You can put this in your pocket right with your phone, or if you're wearing a fanny pack, you can put it in the fanny pack. As long as you have enough space on you to take your phone, then you also have enough space to take this keyboard and mouse. As Android has more options and is more flexible, I'm going to start by talking about the iOS options. Once you pair this keyboard with your phone, it takes over the on-screen keyboard. That means that whenever you tap into a text window, your on-screen keyboard will not pop up. You will have to type using this physical keyboard. This gives you more screen real estate, and because phone screens are so small, every extra centimeter counts. This is great for working on documents or typing long emails, but if you're thinking of using it for casual chats, I wouldn't advise it. You will lose easy access to your emoji keyboard, and we know how we use emojis during casual chats. You don't need those when you're typing a work email, but if you're just chatting with this keyboard, you see there's no emoji button. The keyboard has 3 compatibility modes, one for iOS, one for Android, and one for Windows. So to make sure it works perfectly with your device, make sure you hold the function key and hit the right button for the operating system you're on. Right now, iOS, so function iOS. Once you do this, it gives you access to keyboard shortcuts. So on iOS, for example, you would use Command C to copy, Command V to paste, and so on. To be honest, I find it a bit tricky to use the shortcuts on the keyboard when using my phone. I mean, copy, paste, those are very obvious, but what's the shortcut for the back button? Or what's the shortcut for going home? Or the shortcut for bringing up your app switcher? I get them mixed up very easily, so I tend to just use my finger on my phone when I need to make those quick actions, and then when I want to type, I go back to the keyboard. I said this was a keyboard and mouse combo. So if you want to bring up the mouse on iOS, you need to turn on your assistive touch. That's that little gray square you see on people's iPhones and iPads once they've damaged their center button or cracked their screens. The point of the assistive touch is to give you access to some of your touch controls. If the real ones are damaged, then you get a virtual version of them. But when you turn on assistive touch, if you have a mouse connected to your phone, you will also see the mouse cursor on the screen. Now, I think it's ridiculous that Apple won't let us use the mouse unless we turn on assistive touch. It means that every time I want to see my mouse cursor, I also have to see the assistive touch icon. I think it's silly, but now so we see them. If you are using an iPhone, I recommend you put your assistive touch on a shortcut that you can access even if your home button or a part of your touch screen is bad. So on my iPhone XS, I mapped it to the back tap. All I have to do is triple tap the back of my phone and you see this menu come up. If you want, you can map only one shortcut to the back tap so that the moment you do it, it works. For example, this is how you do reachability normally. But here you see a scenario in which I have mapped reachability to my back tap. So the moment I back tap, I'm able to access the top half of my phone easily. But back to what I was saying, I have mapped my back tap to bring up my assistive touch. So with this, I can use my mouse cursor. Here's how to do that. On iOS 8 or higher, go to Settings, Accessibility, Touch. Here you can access the back tap feature and configure it as you see fit. You can go to your assistive touch settings to configure the size of the cursor, the sensitivity, and so on. I recommend you read an article or watch a video that goes into details on the iPhone accessibility settings because I'm not going to go into that in this video. So back to what you can do with the mouse. The mouse does have 2-finger zooming and scrolling. You can also right click with this mouse. Now let's go over to Android. Once you pair the mouse with your Android phone, it works right from your lock screen. So even without touching the phone, you can just move the mouse, unlock your phone, and you're in. And I think this is a much better looking mouse cursor than the one we had on iOS. Now, certain Android phones let you split your screen across multiple apps. But when you try to type in one of those apps, your on-screen keyboard comes up and covers up almost the entire app. So it's very impractical. But if you're using an external keyboard like this, you can comfortably use both apps simultaneously because when you want to type, your on-screen keyboard does not come up. So you can see both apps properly. I know some people may be thinking that having each app take up only half of the screen is too little and you cannot see a lot, but I would argue that you already use only half of your screen for your apps most of the time because your keyboard is essentially one app taking up half of the screen. It's too bad you can't drag and drop between two different apps on most Android phones. So right now, I say the real advantage of being able to do this is looking at information in one place. Maybe you're doing your research for your thesis or something, and you are typing that information in a different app. Maybe your word processing app where you are writing your thesis. So how is the battery life? The manufacturers say this is about 40 hours of battery life, and while I haven't tested it with any scientific method, it does seem about right. And that's very impressive for something this thin because, I mean, what size of battery could they have fitted in here? So if you don't use the keyboard for a while, it goes into idle mode. This means that your phone will be disconnected from the keyboard. So even though you did not switch off the keyboard, the next time you pick up your phone and tap into a text window, your on-screen keyboard will come up and you type with your phone as usual. The moment you touch a button or the mouse on this keyboard, it will wake up and connect to your phone again and you switch back to the hardware keyboard. This is very useful because it means even if you forget to turn off the keyboard, the battery does not keep on getting drained because it goes into idle mode after a few minutes of idleness. This helps the battery last for a very long time. I have not used this keyboard extensively for days at a go, so I cannot tell you the battery lasts for 3 or 4 days straight. What I can tell you is that I usually only charge it about once a month because I only use it for 20-30 minute sessions, maybe once a week, whenever I'm in a situation where I think I need the keyboard. So the battery life is superb, it lasts quite a while. At this point, I want to say some of the things I don't like about this keyboard. The very first one, to get it to be this portable, I mean, look, it's pretty much the same size as my phone. To get it to be this portable, they had to make the keys really small, and I have really big hands. So it took me a few days of using the keyboard before I got used to the size and stopped making so many mistakes. Secondly, because of the hinges, the keyboard is not firm. So if you try to use it on your lap, on a bed, on any surface that is not perfectly flat, it will wobble while you type. But if you use it on a flat surface, as flat as this one, then you can type comfortably without any wobble. You also cannot use it with most ergonomic laptop stands. It's going to just bend the moment you try to touch it, unless you have a laptop stand that is solid all the way through like this one, then you can use the keyboard with it. Also, the mouse is really tiny, so I find it rather sluggish. You have to drag it across the screen. I know you can adjust the sensitivity settings of the mouse on your phone, so there's some leeway to make adjustments, but it's just, I think this is the barest minimum of what you can call a mouse. It's so tiny, it's barely usable. So if you really want to use a mouse with your phone, apart from the keyboard functionality, I would advise you get something like this, a Bluetooth mouse that you can pair directly with your phone. And you can get more information about the features of this mouse in this video. The link will also be in the description below. So yes, I think barest minimum of what you can call a mouse, but it's still better than nothing. And finally, because of how small the keys are, I would never recommend you use this with a computer. Phone, yes, for the portability, but a computer's keyboard is always going to be bigger and more comfortable to type on than this one. So at this point, you might be thinking, why don't I just use a computer then? Why should I even bother using this with my phone? Fair question. It depends on you. So I think there are certain use cases where using something like this will be useful. So let's say you have to go on a trip where you don't want to take your laptop with you. You're going to be in a hotel for 2 or 3 days. You don't want to take your laptop with you, but you know that a situation might come up during your trip where you will have to do some work, work on a spreadsheet, respond to emails, or just do something that you won't be too comfortable doing on your phone with your tiny keyboard. Then that is when you bring this out. Or if you don't own a laptop or a computer and you don't have the money to get one yet, but sometimes you need to do some work, you can probably afford the keyboard and mouse without spending the money to get a computer if you already have a decent smartphone. A third option, you have a smart TV, you want to use Netflix or YouTube or something like that, and you want to type in the name of the show. You know how annoying it is typing with a TV remote. You can just pair this keyboard with your TV and type directly with the keyboard. Oh, that reminds me of one more disadvantage of this keyboard that I forgot to mention. It cannot be paired with multiple devices. You can only pair it with one device at a time. So that means if you pair it with your TV, you can't then turn on your phone and expect the keyboard to just connect with the phone automatically. You have to disconnect it from the TV and pair it with the phone. So I will recommend you choose the main device you want to be using this keyboard with and just pair it with that and leave it that way. Or buy 2 keyboards, because here we're trying to promote a lifestyle of efficiency, and I don't think it's very efficient to keep on disconnecting and then pairing with a new device, and then disconnecting and then pairing with a new device. So think very well about how you think you would want to use this. I've also tried out some of these portable phone screen magnifiers, but even though this one here is the best one I've found, it still has the problem of I have to stay at the optimum angle to see what is on the screen properly. If I stay like this, I cannot see my entire screen. If I stay like this or like this, so it forces me to stay in one position where I can then see my phone screen larger and type and work as if I'm working on a computer. So my point is, this is the best phone screen magnifier of all the ones I've tested, and it's still inadequate. So if you're thinking of this type of setup, I will not recommend it. I would recommend you just get a phone stand that you can connect your phone charger to. So you can plug in your charger right here while you're working, something like this. I would recommend any stand from Ugreen. This one is from Ugreen. It's the second one I bought. So I'm just saying I really like stands from Ugreen. They are the best ones I've used. This video is not sponsored by Ugreen, and we don't even sell Ugreen products at Niche, at least not yet. So you can buy directly from their website or on Amazon or wherever. And you don't even have to buy Ugreen. You can use any other brand. Just get a phone stand that lets you use your phone comfortably. You see, I can tilt it to different positions, and I have the space to connect my charger. So just get a phone stand that meets all those needs, and you can work with your phone as if you're using a laptop. So here's my conclusion. If any of the situations I've highlighted in this video sounds like a situation you find yourself in fairly regularly, then you're going to find this keyboard useful. But if you're almost never in any of these situations, then you don't need to buy this. There are better options of doing the work you need to do. And maybe you've been in a situation before where you now realize that, wow, if I had had this, it would have made my life much easier. Maybe a scenario that I haven't thought of or talked about in this video. Please let me know about such scenarios in the comments below, because if there's a task that needs doing, then there's a great tool or technique to do it efficiently.